What's going on, everyone? John here with Power Clean Pressure Wash and powerwashmarketing.com. And today I've got another video for you. Today we're going to be reviewing the six-figure side hustle, a beginner's guide to starting a profitable pressure washing business by Mr. Jeremy Jessup. So we are going to get into that. I bought this on Amazon. It was recommended to me and I wanted to check it out. So we're going to be reviewing it and how big it is. Let's get into the video. Man, okay, so this thing is small. This thing is like, can I get closer? Look how small this booklet is. When you see it like this, it looks big, but like here, the profile of it is small. It looks like an itinerary. It looks like the Sky Mall magazine when you go flying. I've seen coloring books bigger than this. Look at this thing. It looks like the lyrics books that used to get on the back of CDs. You know, it had all the lyrics. It looks like it's a warranty manual, but only in one language. It doesn't have Russian or Chinese or anything else. It's just one language. It looks like a menu at the Cheesecake Factory. Not saying a lot for the Cheesecake Factory and not a lot for this book. It looks like one of those firefighter field trip activity booklets. Like, where's that gold sticker? I want that gold sticker. That thing was cool. Okay, all jokes aside, this thing is really small, and my first impressions was I got it, I opened it up, I didn't know what it was, but it was very thin. It's a large format book, and then if you go and you look at the words, I don't want to share too much here, but if you look at the words, the print is very thick. It's a very thick print. I'm sorry, not thick, but it's very big letters. It's like when you are doing an assignment for school and you try to make the font, they tell you 12-point font, but you try to make it like 14-16, try to slide through with the 14-16 font so that, you know, you don't have to type as much. That's what it kind of reminded me of. It kind of reminded me of a report that I didn't want to do. The print quality on it, it's not the best. It's not the best. It's faded. The design is not the greatest. For some reason, it's like it's a pressure washing business, but it's I guess a painted fence or some kind of wood texture in the background, so that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I feel like, you know, we went outside, took a picture of something and put that as the background, I guess. I have no idea. The quality of the pages themselves and the print is just not the best. Especially when you consider what I paid for this thing. I paid $25 for this thing. And when we're talking about books, you know, I have a lot of books here, and I like the texture of books. I like the tactile feel of books, and you know, this is very underwhelming. I think it comes from Amazon's like print on demand service. So when you partner with Amazon, I believe you can upload a book to them, and instead of like an ebook or whatever, they'll print it on demand. I have to imagine that's what this is. When I first looked at this, I said to myself, there's no way it could have a lot of information in it. And my first impressions, it's just not a good value for $25. Like, if I saw this laying down at a bookstore, then I looked on the back and I looked at a little barcode and it said $25, I'd be like, that's okay. There's no way they can be $25 in here for me. I want to talk about why this book was written, and I don't know for a fact. I mean, I've read it cover to cover, but this is my interpretations of it. This is not from the author or anybody else. This is just what I'm getting off of it. The first and foremost is that there is a service promoted in this book from Stat Central, and it seems like that is the focus. I don't want to say focus, but it is a underlying point of this book to promote the service of Stat Central. And Stat Central is a marketing service trying to help you grow marketing. That seems to be the underlying thing, which is not bad, right? You know, like, everybody's got their deal, everybody's got their hustle, everybody's doing their thing. So I'm not mad at, you know, a service creating a booklet, as long as the information's knowledge is good and credible and it works, then that's fine. So but it does seem like the underlying the underlying flavor, if I could say it, is like sprinkled with a little Stat Central. And I tried to find them online. I couldn't find it. So maybe this is like a small business that this person is doing. I don't know, but I'd like to learn more about Stat Central and see what they have to offer. The second thing, I think the focus of this book is, and this is kind of like the most obvious piece. It's the piece that's sitting on top of that underlined marketing plug, is this book, it says it right here: A Beginner's Guide to Starting a Profitable Pressure Washing Business. And I think it is that. I think it's really designed for people that are just starting. And when I'm talking about just starting, I'm talking about the guy or the gal who is like knows nothing about pressure washing, has like maybe a friend that does it, or knows somebody else and wants to do some base level research completely on their own. That's who I think something like this is for. If you have done any research already, or if you're already in the industry, I don't know if you're going to get a lot from it, but we're going to get more into that in a little bit. I want to talk about what this book did wrong first, and I want to end on a positive note. So we're going to talk about what it did wrong, then we're going to talk about what it did right. So what it did wrong first. First and foremost, I think the title is a bit clickbaity. Six-figure side hustle. It gave a lot of information in here, and we'll get into the pros of it, into the good parts of it. But I don't believe that it gave the framework for a six-figure side hustle. When I think of side hustle, I'm thinking things I can do, cash. I'm thinking like, buying things at a thrift store, or selling things online, or, eBay, just kind of like cash businesses. Or I'm thinking of things that I can do quickly, even the washing cars, things like that. I've done a ton of side hustles, ever since I was a little kid, washing cars, cutting grass, all sorts of things. And for something to be a side hustle, per my definition, right? This has nothing to do with anybody else, but just per my definition, it has to be something that is in tandem with your main activities. So your main job, so you have your main job, and then this is something you do after hours. And for something to have a six-figure potential, the $100,000 plus, I think that's a bit misleading. I think a better title for something like this would be Turn Your Side Hustle into six figures. I think that would have been a better title, especially for the content of this book. It's fine to say, like, pressure washing can be a side hustle, because it is for a lot of people. A lot of people don't do this as their primary job. While there's a few that do it as their primary work, not everybody does this as their primary job. So he can say something like side hustle, turn a side hustle into a six-figure income, or a six-figure job, or a six-figure lifestyle. I think that would have been a more acceptable title, but the title to me was a bit deceptive, based on the content, and that's going to be honestly a good thing here. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I'll talk why the title doesn't 100% match up with the booklet itself. And I call it a booklet. This can't be a book. This is a booklet. Sorry, but can't be roasting anymore. Either way. The other thing that I don't think it does 100% right is that it encourages people to start with a hand pump, the $10 ones, the pump sprayers, the hand pump sprayers, and a car broom and a step ladder. And it says you can wash an entire house with that. I've got dragged over the coals for a video I made before where it says turn your $600 stimulus check into a business, and I got dragged for that. And this book is literally telling you to spend $30 all in to start a business. I thought people thought $600 was small, and this one's saying $30. I don't ever knock somebody's hustle to like start small and start minimal. Can you wash a house with a pump sprayer? Yes, you could wash a house with a pump sprayer. Could you wash a house with a toothbrush? Yes, you could wash a house with a toothbrush. I think at some point there's a point of diminishing returns, as far as your scalability, as far as your profitability, as far as your professionalism, as far as even the barrier of hustle. If we're only talking about warm market, people you absolutely know, people you absolutely trust, people that are in 1-story homes, maybe I would offer them, hey, let me clean your house for $100, $200, $300, and I'm going to use this pump sprayer because I want to save up to get to a pressure washer. I want to save up to get to a soft wash setup. Then maybe. I don't think I would personally show up to a client's home at any point in how I started. And I started with a small little Ryobi, and people think that that's too small. I don't think there's any point that I would have started with a pump sprayer as like my main tool. And then, you would have to use their garden hose and their sprayer to spray everything off. And then you're just mixing batches right there on the spot because, 1 gallon or even 2 gallons is not going to be enough to do the entire home. So I don't know. I think for me and mine, I think that's too low of a barrier of entry. I think that we need to step up just a little bit, and then you'll have guys that argue more and more and more. But this booklet does give you that context. It does kind of outline all of those things, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But that's one thing I didn't like about this. I didn't really appreciate that we're talking about starting people very small, extremely small, smaller than I personally think that you should start. But hey, everybody's to each their own, right? The next thing, this book had a lot of information, but I felt that a lot of the information was extremely vague in parts, kind of like it didn't want to take a position or set a standard, or was afraid to set a standard. So I feel like the book itself lacked some conviction, if that makes any sense. When I bought this, I thought it was going to be something that said, this is how you do it, this is the way, this is the outline, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And this was more suggestive. This was more, this is how I do it. This was more, again, just lacking the conviction that I think a $25 investment should be. I would expect, this level of conviction to come from like a blog piece or a website. I wouldn't expect somebody to print literature, and call it a beginner's guide to have such little conviction. And honestly, I would like to see a version 2 of this where we go where the author, just kind of doubles down, triples down, quadruples down onto what they say in here and what they believe, and kind of set it as truth, because there's a lot of good points in here. So either way, I think the book lacked a little detail and lacked a little conviction. Next is the book talks about a couple resources, a couple CRM resources, a couple marketing resources. Of course, they're plugging themselves, or it seems to be they're plugging themselves. I don't want to call something out that's not true, but it seems like they're covering they're plugging themselves or a specific company. And I'd like to see more resources in here. That was they talk about, they kind of hint at some resources like Thumbtack and Home Advisor and things like that. But again, in this 51 page book, there's a lack of definite resources to lean on. So, with a book that offers such, I'd say this badly, but such vague information or lack of detailed information, I'd kind of like to say, this is the general theory, this is the general practice. Go here for very specific examples, or go here for very specific things. I think that would have been great in this book, but it just didn't have all of those resources that I think something like this could have. And I think that's more of an opinion piece. Other than that, as far as things that this book did wrong, there was just a couple typing errors. I think the book needed to be edited a little bit more thoroughly. There was just a couple things that I found that popped out to me as a reader, and I don't really read that much. So, and I'm horrible at typing. I am horrible at typing. So if I found it, there's probably way more than I found, but it is what it is. Errors happen. That happens. That's just the way things happen, right? So what are you gonna do? I'm pretty much done bashing the book. I want to talk about some of the things that the book actually did right. First thing is, and I think this is very important, it brought attention to good business practices like being licensed and being insured. It talks about different legislative bodies. It talks about contacting your licensing and finding that information. It talks about insurance. It gives some inside insurance. I did actually learn something from insurance about the book talked about. I don't want to give too much away because I want to keep the content in the book here, but it just gave me some different things to think about my own insurance, and it's prompted me to call my insurance carrier and to make sure that I'm covered under specific circumstances that the book highlights. So I think that was really good. It definitely takes a position there where I said it lacked conviction in other areas. It definitely took a solid position there, and I think that's a very strong thing for this book and a very strong thing for the industry as a whole. So kudos on that. It gave a good overview on pressure washing terminology, and I think that's very important because when you're getting into this industry, or you get into any new industry, there's a vocabulary that you're going to have to learn, and you're going to have to learn not only the long form like sodium hypochlorite, but the short form of it, SH. You're going to have to understand what GPM is and PSI and all of these different things, or you hear these words like orifices and all of these new words and all of these new terms you're going to have to learn. And I think this book did a good job of outlining some of the basic vocabulary so that you can operate in the space and have a conversation with people in this space and have the vocabulary that matches. The other piece is it goes into pricing, and I was a little nervous when it went into pricing. I said, "Oh my gosh, this super thin menu." Sorry, I don't mean to keep busting this book's balls, but this book, I was, just from the first impressions, I was like, man, this thing is gonna talk about some low pricing, but it was good. It wasn't bad. It did touch on some fair market pricing, some fair market values. It gave some structure. I think in the pricing area specifically was an area where I felt like it lacked conviction, and that's an area where I feel like we need more conviction, more than ever. If we're going to hold the pricing line, if we're going to raise the value of our services, if we're going to try to weed out the guys that are doing it as the side hustle and focus and set the actual tangible value on a scalable business model, we're going to need more people to take more positions in their pricing. So I think that this was an opportunity to do that, where the author chose to be more suggestive with their pricing, or be more, this is what I may charge, you may be different. And I understand it's hard to do that because of markets, but I really think that there is a way to do that, and I really think that we need to be taking more positions so that we can raise the value and we can keep the pricing integrity there, and we can scale our businesses to the moon. Another thing that I really liked about this book is that it has this one section in there that talks about starting small, and they kind of go over it a number of different times. And the philosophy, was kind of, in my opinion, exaggerated when, you're talking about buying the hand pump and they're saying start small that way. But the mindset is right. The mindset is there. Too many people go into debt, extreme amounts of debt, trying to get into this industry because they think it's easy, they think it's cheap, they think it's very doable. They think, oh, I'm just putting water on houses, there's not a lot to learn. They go into this and they spend $10, $20, $30,000 on setups and rigs that ended up parking. And I do like that this book champions to start small. I think that's really good advice. We may have different definitions on how small, but I do like that it is tempering people's expectations or tempering people's initial investments, so that they can understand the equipment that they buy on a smaller scale, so that they can build up from there. The last thing is, and they do this pretty early, they give a good comparison between pressure washing and soft washing. They almost demonize pressure washing a little too much, but you know, they kind of pull it back later and kind of give it more contextualization later. So that's, you have to read the entire book. You can't just read the first chapter, first few pages. You have to read the entire thing, and it doesn't take long, I promise you. But either way, it's they do kind of give the two definitions of them, and they do give the correct context of this is what soft washing is for, this is what pressure washing is for, and that's good. I think pressure washing should not be used on home siding. It should not be, and soft washing should be the thing that the entire industry is getting behind on soft washing. And I think they did take a good position on that as well. So kudos to this book for doing that. All right, so the big question is this book worth it? I mean, all right. This is what it comes down to, guys. When you pay for education, okay, you're not paying for the knowledge. You're not paying for the knowledge. When you're going to college, when you're going to a training course, when you're doing anything and you're paying for that education, you're not paying for the information that you're getting from that course. Honestly, pretty much all information can either be found on Google, it can be found on in books and in libraries, talking to people. You can find all of that on YouTube. I mean, in this industry, you can find how to do pretty much everything on YouTube. When you're buying education, what you're buying is the structure and the curation. Okay, so step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Like, let's say, for example, I want to learn math, right? And I don't know anything about math. Well, you pay for math classes because they'll teach you the 1 plus 1s, then they'll teach you the multiplication, then the division. They teach you things in steps all the way up to trigonometry and calculus and going on from there. If I were to seek out math on my own, I may find all different versions and all different types and all different whatever, and I have to kind of align everything. So when you're buying education or you're buying a book for $25, you're paying for the structure of the delivery. I don't have to go out and source the business license or the things I need to consider with insurance or all the pressure washing terminology. It's all right here for the most part, right? All the basics are right there. So if you are somebody who is thinking about starting a pressure washing business and you've done little to no research already, then I think this book is something that you should pick up, because it will give you the vocabulary and the basic terminology and the basic practices to have conversations with industry professionals. It will give you better context of what to search when you're doing your own research. It will give you insights into the conversations that are already being had in the industry, in Facebook groups and whatnot, and you'll understand them. When you'll understand the words downstream injector, and you'll understand GPMs, and you'll understand all of these things if you pick up this book and you go into it, and you'll understand it in a structured point of view. Or you'll be ingesting it structurally. And it took me an afternoon to read through this. I mean, a couple toilet sittings, this book's done. But well, I mean, depending on your toilet sittings, that could be one toilet sitting. But either way, I keep going back to the rest of this thing. I don't mean to do that, but it's something where this book will give you some good foundation, so that you can expand your knowledge more. And I guess that really comes back to what he said here, a beginner's guide to starting a profitable pressure washing business. It is extremely beginner, but it is what he says it is. It is a beginner's guide to starting a profitable pressure washing business. If you're somebody that's already been in the community, been doing research, been pressure washing a little while, you're not going to find a lot of gems in this book. You're not going to find a lot in this book for you. There's just not going to be there for you. But, you know, I'm glad I have it, you know, $25 later. I'm glad I have it as, you know, just something from the industry that I can put on the shelf, on my bookshelf. So that's cool. I'm glad I have it as something, you know, as a tool that I can refer back to. I'm glad I have it as something, if I hire somebody and I say, you know, day one, sit down and read this book for an hour or two, and then I don't have to explain all the vocabulary. I mean, why not, right? A basic training book that I don't have to put together, you know, that's I don't have to explain what's going to happen at the jobs that I'm going to take them on, because they already have the basic information. And of course I'm still going to explain myself, but I don't have to explain what I'm explaining, if that makes any sense. This book will give them a lot of context for the job. So, I mean, maybe that a good training manual of sorts. $25 is a lot for a book this small. It's a lot of money for a book this small. I've paid half and gotten bigger books, but it's not a lot of money when you're considering the time, the energy, and the monetary investments that you're going to be making when it comes to starting a new business, right? You know, businesses go out of business all the time because they don't have the information, they don't have the foresight, they don't have the scope, they don't understand the scope of the business. And I think this gives a pretty, you know, $25, you can decide if this is something you want to pursue or not. I think for $25 it does give you that. I think for $25 it does say, do you want to pursue this or not? It does skew you a little bit by, you know, the title, six-figure side hustle. So I would reword the title, turn your side hustle into a six-figure salary or a six-figure business. Something like that, I think, would have been a little bit more acceptable, and a little bit more, and kind of going back to that, I think if that was the title for this, I think this book would be more spot on. The title's a little clickbaity. That's fine. You know, it got me interested. I wanted to see it. I wanted to read it. So it did its job. But I think for somebody that's already doing the side hustle, this book may not be for them, if that makes sense. This book may not be for them. I want to say thank you to Mr. Jeremy Jessup for writing this book, The Six-Figure Side Hustle, A Beginner's Guide to Starting a Profitable Pressure Washing Business. We need more content like this. Hopefully you can take some of the things that I said, tweak this a little bit, and, you know, re-release it. I'll buy the second one. I'm always down to support people in the community. We need more good quality content. We need more good bases of information and good standards. We need to be pushing this kind of content more. I want to see more of this. This is awesome. We need things to push standardized fair market pricing. We need to make sure that people are charging scalable pricing so that we can all live and be happy, guys. So either way, thank you to Mr. Jeremy Jessup. I think this is pretty good content. I'm sorry for all the roasting, but man, this thing is tiny. This thing's super tiny, but I'm excited to see what you come out with and see if there's more content to come. And I'd want to see more about, you know, this Stats Central. I think that would be pretty interesting. So either way, thank you for watching this video. If you want to see more content like this, not where I'm roasting books, but I'm talking about different education sources and reviewing those education sources, please drop a comment. I need to know. I need the Facebook algorithm to say, hey, John needs to make more of this kind of content. Also hit the like button for me. That really helps. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification so that when I drop more content like this, you can be ready and you can get it day one and hour one, minute one, and you can watch the videos right away. Either way, this was a review on the Six-Figure Side Hustle by Mr. Jeremy Jessup. Very cool, very awesome, and I hope you guys like it. Catch you in the next one. Peace.